Hi sewers! Today I'm going to explain to you how to use slopers or a fitting shell to create your own plus size patterns. And the reason why you want to do this is because every time you start a new pattern that you buy from the store or you get an old pattern from the 40s or 50s, you basically have to resize it to fit your body. It's a lot of work. And after a while get quicker at it, but there's something that you can use like a sloper that helps these things go quicker. So what I did was do a lot of Google searching about slopers and I heard some people talking about this pattern from Butterick. It is Butterick 6092 and it's basically not a dress. It's a sloper. They call it a personal fitting pattern. These are on sale now on the Butterick website. I think they're like on sale for $3. This is a great deal, and this will be a tool that you use the rest of your life. This dress that I'm wearing now is a gold taffeta 50s, 40s era dress that I used my sloper to resize. And your basic sloper is going to be fitting you like a second skin. It's not going to have any room to breathe, any room to sit down. It has no ease. What we call in sewing ease is the extra room you have under here, over here, in the waistline for you to bend over and twist around, and for you to feel comfortable sitting down without your skirt like feeling really tight around your hips. So those eases are built into garments to make them look different, more blousey look, more fitted look. So this pattern will give you a basic block for a bodice and a basic block for a fitted A-line skirt. And it will have a dart in the bust at the waist, and the bust in the side, the back in the waist, and the back in the shoulder. And it has great instructions. And here these instructions will walk you all the way through. They start you off with measurements. So what you do is take your tape measure and you measure yourself. You might need some help to do this. You get the bust all the way around. You get to chest up above the full bust line's here. The chest is here. You get your waist, where your natural waist is or where you like your waist on your body. Some people like it higher than normal. I happen to be one of those people because I am pear-shaped. You get your hips around the fullest point. Some people this is going to be around their butts. Some people this is going to be more around their thighs. It depends on your body shape. Get your biceps all the way around. I have larger biceps and I always have to alter sleeves and patterns, so I created a sleeve sloper. You get the length between from your hips, your full hip at your side, from your hip to waist. There's lots of measurements in here that are basically serve as a two-dimensional pattern of your body. So once you do your measurements, you compare them to their pieces. This is the back, and I actually laid this pattern piece against me, and I marked in the back where the full bust point is. That's what this orange mark is. And you measure the pattern, make sure it fits you, and if you need more length, you add it. If you need to increase this shoulder dart because your shoulders are longer, you can do that sort of thing. This pattern comes with a full bust adjustment. Comes in different cup sizes, so you could see here what I had to do. I needed a D cup. So I followed the directions in the instructions to increase to a D cup dart. And basically, once I made my alterations on here, all I did was a D cup. And then I pinned it to myself. It looks pretty good. And then I worked on my skirt. This is actually my finished skirt pattern. The skirt is going to have 2 darts in the back and 2 darts in the front on each half of your body. So This is the skirt back. This is the center back. It has dart here, dart here. I actually had to adjust my dart length because I have a rounder butt, so my darts actually come to a more narrow than the actual pattern is. This is all stuff you can do once you make a muslin. A muslin is basically just, it can be any cotton fabric that you can fit to yourself. You have an old sheet, you just make this sloper out of it. This does include seam allowances, I think. And actually they recommend that you put a zipper in the center front so you can get in and out of it because it's going to be tight. So once you make the alterations to the pattern piece, then you go ahead and make your muslin, try it on. If something is gaping here, you make an alteration and you can make it in the muslin, you can pin it and then write directly on your muslin and markers. Transfer it to your paper. So what I ended up with my first time around, I found that whenever I made this pattern, I ended up with all these extra fabric in my shoulder. So you can see this is my first draft of the pattern. Here's where I made the bust adjustment for it. I actually had to increase my bust point. Theirs was lower. And I found that, you know, this was really gapey right here. So I took a slash from the armpit to the shoulder and I actually moved it in this way to get rid of a lot of gaping things that was happening on my muslin. And the pattern ended up looking like this. This is my basic front sloper. I have a bust dart and a waist dart. And I marked my center front, and I actually fold my darts up. A lot of people on the side bust dart fold them down. I read in a book where plus sizes actually helps when you fold the dart in upward direction. It helps delay. So my dart's actually up here folded. So I made an adjustment in this side seam so when I fold it up it all meets, because it was actually made so whenever you fold this down, fold this in the downward direction, it meets up. So I had to make an adjustment there. Just little things. It has a sloper sleeve, and this turned out to be my sloper sleeve. I like shorter sleeves to show off my tattoos. And that's the last thing I worked on once I got the bodice and the skirt to fit. And I used this to reset all my sleeves whenever I design my new patterns. So basically I say the word design because I take my vintage pattern or my modern pattern that I want to do for myself and I lay it on top of this piece, and I know exactly where the original or where the new pattern that I want to work with is not going to work for me. Say I lay it on top of this piece and it only comes to right here, the side seams here. I know I need to add 2 inches. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is just start with this piece and then just take yourself a few minutes to look at the things that are different about your sloper. You know your sloper has a high neck, it comes up here, and you want a V-neck. Make a copy of your sloper. It comes all the way up here. Make a copy of it and then trace the neckline for the new pattern onto your sloper. If that's the only change there is in the dress, it saved you hours of work of resizing a whole pattern to fit you, because all you needed to do was take those specific construction details that were on the pattern that you want to make and draw them on your sloper. So slopers are definitely a time saver, and they can be a bit frustrating. So you might have to make a few muslins. I'll show you what I did with mine. This is a muslin of my sloper on my dress mannequin. And I bought a plus size dress form by Dritz and made my sloper out of muslin and fit it to myself exactly. Then I placed my sloper onto the dress form and I set the dress form to match my upper bust measurements. And then this bottom part here, my big booty, I filled this in with I think it was quilting batting, until this mannequin matches my hip and waist size. I've added the waist and I've added the belly in order to match me. I've added the bum, and you can see where I actually have drawn on my center back seam. Here's 2 darts here. Here's the back dart. And put a little tape on top of here so it stays together. Sewed it all the way up to the front, and then I actually had to do a little bit more sewing after I put it on to keep it together because I couldn't get it on the dummy with it all sewed up. So whenever I lay the pattern out, I have exact match of me because I used my sloper to make myself basically an outfit for my dress form and stuffed it to my size. So that's another trick you can use with your sloper. If you guys have any questions, just leave me some questions in the comments below. Oh, one more thing. Here's something I had to do. Your sloper is a fitted sleeve. And I ran into some patterns that were kimono sleeve. So I actually had to take my sloper and make it into a kimono sleeve. I'll show you an example. Here's my kimono sleeve bodice. Whenever I make a dress that has kimono sleeves and not fitted sleeves, I use this. And I basically started with my sloper again. If I lay it on top of here, like this, you can see it's my sloper, but just this part added, the kimono sleeve added. That's one example. I had to make the arm cinch lower here because it's more restricted movement than a fitted sleeve. But it's one example of what you can do with sloper. I can cut it up, and I've made princess seam slopers that I use. There's just endless ideas. So I recommend going and getting this butterick fitting shell. It has excellent directions and can tell you better than I ever could. Follow it to a T and you will be just like me. You'll be able to make anything you want. So happy sewing, guys.